Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about my collection of Malian Press books, or if you like chapbooks, that were produced in the 1950s. As far as I'm aware, Malian Press only ever produced 46 books. I'm not aware that they produced anything other than these SF books. Now, before I start, I'm just going to show you one of my duplicates. As you can see, it is very, very thin. And a lot of people say they were produced on poor paper. But my view is some of them are possible to find in really lovely condition. Each has exactly the same format in the sense that it is comprised of 36 pages if you count the front cover as page 1 and the rear cover as page 36. These are stapled booklets with 2 staples in the normal places. Oops, I don't know whether you can see. So you can have problems with rusty staples. But anyway, these booklets were issued in 2 series. The first series, which I'm going to call Science Fiction Magazine, American Science Fiction Magazine, comprised 41 issues. The title did change, and it wasn't until number 25 that they first used the word magazine on the cover. So maybe until then they actually thought of them more as books or chapbooks rather than magazines. But whether you should call them a magazine, a pulp, a paperback, or something else, I'm not going to make a definitive comment about. Right, I did try and find out a little bit about them before I started this video. Most sources do not state who was the editor of this series, although I did find one source that said they were edited by James Mitchell. But having found that name, I couldn't find any more information about him. So I'll leave that there, and if anyone knows for definite, perhaps they could leave a comment. Before I start, I'm going to say a couple of other things. The magazines ran from June 52 to September 55. I've no idea why Malian Press stopped issuing them in September 55. Did they go bankrupt? Did they run out of money? Was it a copyright issue? I don't know. All the stories in the chapbooks were reprints. They had all appeared in American magazines previously. Each book is comprised of between 1 and 4 stories. So the longer ones might be called a novella or a novelette. The short ones are described as short stories. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail about the other stories in each book, but I will just mention some of the authors that appear on the inside and not on the cover. And it is an impressive number of authors. So there was Murray Leinster, Lewis Paget, Frederick Brown, Neil R. Jones, H.B. Fife, Judith Merrill, Lester Del Rey, Margaret St. Clair, Clifford D. Simac, Wallace West, Jack Vance, Ray Bradbury, John D. MacDonald, William F. Temple, Aldous Budrys, William Tenn, Powell Anderson, Arthur C. Clarke, H. Beam Piper, Donald A. Wollheim, Mac Reynolds, Nelson Bond, Sam Merwin Jr. So as you can see, the secondary stories, many are by well-known authors as well. Not all, there are one or two authors that I haven't mentioned, whose names I've never heard of. So I'm going to start now by showing you the series of books. I apologise, but I'm not going to remove all of them from the plastic bags, and I am not going to tell you who the supplementary stories are by in each book. Before I get into it, I will say a little bit about my collecting of them. If I go back about 10 or 15 years, I only had about 3 or 4. That's all I'd ever come across at a reasonable price that I was willing to pay. And then someone I knew, who at the time said he had all of them, said he might be willing to sell, and I expressed an interest in buying. Eventually he sorted out his copies for me, but of the 41, he only had 37, and the ones I already had were duplicates of ones he had. So I had a nearly complete set, and it was quite expensive, I will admit, to try and fill those gaps, which I did. After I collected the 41, I did also try and collect the secondary series, Selected Science Fiction, of which there are 5. I bought 4 from the person, well, from his estate that time, of the 5, but I never found number 2, which is the one by Powell Anderson. So if anyone has that, I would be interested. I'm now going to show you the 41 from the main series, and I'm going to start with number 1. None of these are numbered, but the publication sequence is generally accepted, so I'm going to treat them as being numbered based on the publication date. Number 1 is Red Death of Mars by R.M. Williams. These originally started at 8 Australian pence each, but after the first few they went to 9 pence each. If I haven't mentioned, they were published from June 52 to September 55. That's number 1. Number 2 is Conquest of the Stars by Murray Leinster. All the artwork on these books is by Stanley Pitt. And although he did do a little bit of other work for comics, He's only really, or should I say best known, for his work on these two series, particularly the American science fiction series. And I do think the artwork is impressive. I have read that the art on each book does not relate specifically to any of the stories in the book. So I can't say much more. I don't know why. But this is number 3, The Man Who Sold the Moon by Robert A. Heinlein. I think it was originally published as being by D.D. Harriman, but they've renamed it as by Robert Heinlein. The rear cover on the early ones included some advertising. On later issues it mentioned what will be in the next book. Now, one thing I would say, all of the books apart from 2 state the art is by Stanley Pitt. There were 2 where the artist is recorded as, can't remember the first name, Sinan Jais, J-A-I-S, and that was a pseudonym of Stanley Pitt. So all the covers are by Stanley Pitt. This is one of the 2 very difficult ones to find. Number 4 is the Soldado Ant by Murray Leinster, who I think it was originally written as by Will F. Jenkins. This was one of the ones that I had to pay somewhat extra for to complete the set. Next is The Thing from Another World by John W. Campbell Jr. This is probably the rarest and the hardest one to find of the whole set. Next, Death of the Moon by A.M. Phillips. I must admit I haven't heard of him before. And number 7 is The Unknown by Murray Leinster. Next is Clash by Night by Lawrence O'Donnell, and I think Lawrence O'Donnell is the pseudonym for Henry Kuttner and C.L. Moore. Next, The Monster by Nelson Bond. I've never read anything by Nelson Bond. I don't know much about him, but he does appear a few times in these chapbooks. Next is Refuge for Tonight, and as you can see, I didn't check when it changed, but they're now up to 9p, by Robert Williams. I assume that's R.M. Williams. And as you can see, as I think I mentioned, they now on the back state what's going to be in the next issue. Next one is Adventure in Time, which is by, and it doesn't say on the cover, Adventures in Time by Lester Del Rey, writing as Philip St. John. down the side. I missed that. This is supposedly one of the rare ones, although to be honest, I haven't found it particularly uncommon. Next is Fires of Forever by Chad Oliver. I will be interested to hear your comments as to what you think about the artwork. I enjoy it. Next one is Moonwalk by H.B. Fife. Next one is Moon Blind by Eric Van Lin, who is Lester Del Rey. Next is The Dead World by Claire Winger Harris and Miles J. Brewer, or Brewer, MD. Next is Dead Knowledge by John W. Campbell Jr. This is a relatively difficult one to find, a sequence. The next one is Elimination by John W. Campbell Jr. That's moderately difficult, not as bad as the previous one. Next, Danger Moon by James McRae. And James McRae is a pseudonym of Frederick Pohl. And the next one is Veiled Knowledge by Edwin James. And Edwin James is a pseudonym for James Gunn, J.E. Gunn. Right, I shall pause it briefly so I can have a quick drink. Carrying on. Next one, The Invaders by Robert Spencer Carr. Next is The Other Side by Walter Cubilius. This is a fairly easy one to find, and if you haven't seen it, in previous videos I have shown how this could appear if you were to frame it. Next, Men Against the Stars by Manly Wade Wellman. The Lonely Planet by Murray Leinster. There Shall Be Darkness by C.L. Moore. I think these days you will be lucky to find many, if any, of these. They do not appear very often. The next one, Never Trust a Martian by P.W. Fairman. Next is The Ark of Mars by Lee Brackett. Next, Double Identity by Raymond Z. Gallon. The Way of the Gods by Henry Kuttner. Then Remember Tomorrow by Henry Kuttner. I think from memory they were both in single stories. Again, one of the more common ones to find. Derelict of Space by Randall Garrett. The Moving Finger by Barclay Livingston. Sorry, it's in a very difficult to see blue colour, at least in this light. Another one. Meteor of Death by Barclay Livingston. Nine Worlds West by Paul W. Fairman. Another Henry Kuttner, Sword of Tomorrow. Next is Common Time by James Blish. There's Such as These by Irving Cox Jr. Not an author I know about. Next, The Guthrie Method by Raymond Z. Gallon. This series was all published monthly, apart from books 2 and 3, which were both produced in the same month. After that, they came out monthly. As You Were by Henry Kuttner. The Irrationals by Milton Lesser. The Gift of the Gods by R.F. Jones. And finally, of this first series, Stopwatch on the World by Daniel R. Gilgannon. This can be a difficult one to find in quite nice condition. So that is the 41 in the American science fiction sequence. They also produced Selected Science Fiction, which is exactly the same format, I believe. I assume it's the same number of pages, and it's the same size. This is one where I've still got the original label on. So number 1 in that follow-on series. This is Second Variety, Philip K. Dick. So I'm very pleased to have that, and that is quite nice condition. The other ones in this series I didn't get in such good condition. Number 2 is Flight to Forever by Paul Anderson, and I do not have a copy. There are images available online if you want to see, but I haven't got. I would love to find a reasonably priced copy in reasonable condition. Number 3, I'll just check, yeah, is The Enormous Room by H.L. Gold and Robert Krebs. These last three aren't in the greatest condition. Some they're showing their age, and the paper quality is not the greatest. This one's got a bad spine. Number 4 is Surface Tension by James Blish. Finally, number 5, Category Phoenix by Boyd Ellenby. Now, as you see, they've on the back they say what was going to be in issue number 6, but issue number 6 was never issued, and it was the same in the previous series. Number 42 was advertised what the stories would be, but it was never produced. So that is my collection of Malian Press chapbooks. They are difficult to find nowadays. You'll be lucky to come across them. I have a number of duplicates. I will remind you, and I'm going to pause the video, as to what they can look like in frames if you want to see. I have shown you this before, and I'm quite impressed with the artwork on this one, but this is what they could look like in a frame. This frame I bought for £2 from a charity shop, just to sort of see what it might look like. And I'm quite impressed, and I think if you had a number of these magazines, it could make an impressive display, and it would be a very good way of preserving the magazine. So I thought I would show you this. I do have a number of duplicates in this series. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'm not certain what else to say about this series. If you have any comments about it, please leave them below, and I will sign off now. Thank you.